Hello, hello, good morning, welcome, good people. From wherever you are, it's another day. And I was thinking, you know what really burns me up? The amount of time I spend on a daily basis trying to get to the truth. The truth, as in truthful news. The truth without agendas. That's what really grinds my gears, burns me up, however you want to say it. Nowadays, you gotta really read between the lines. But before I get into this, I gotta say the following stream and uh, all the videos on my channel are brought to you by the good viewers, my Patreon patrons, website VIP members, viewer contributions, those who purchase my t-shirts, my books, and my mugs and all that stuff. Thank you very much. Today's shout out goes to Mr. George. Thank you very much, Mr. George. Thanks for watching and supporting the channel. If you'd like to support the channel, head over to anamerikaninbangkok.com/Scott, or just take a look in the description. As of 8:58 this morning, temperature is 88 degrees, high of 96, low of 83. Feels like 100 degrees. 9 o'clock in the morning, it feels like it's 100 degrees. Jesus. Chance of rain, 10%. So today there's actually a chance of rain, which is good because we're in the middle of a drought here. Humidity 70%, winds southeast 7 miles per hour, visibility 6 miles, UV index 4, air quality index is moderate at 56, and the Thai baht 32.9114. Yesterday it was 33.1554, so it's fluctuating a little bit. That's to be expected. Hey, Soy Dog Cowboy. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Longhorns, Mr. BT, Beyond Trinity. Thanks. Thank you. What does it say on there? It says #1 fan. Oh, killer. I like that. Thank you. And let's see. Where is Gennaro when you need him? Seems that Khabib is not fighting. And it's funny because my father, who does not really follow boxing or MMA, he used to follow boxing back in the 60s. He used to follow Ali and, late 50s, that kind of thing. He knew some fighters back then, But he actually said to me, what's this guy, who's the guy who's making this stink about the big fight or whatever? And I was like, oh, that's got to be Dana White. And then I just read that Dana White is reacting to Khabib and how Khabib is pulled out of the UFC 249. Hey, Mitch, how you doing? Yeah, it does, doesn't it? I gotta say, before I go into this a little bit more, my wife showed me something on Zoom. Now, Zoom is, I guess it's the new way to go when it comes to communicating. You can do a lot with it business-wise. And I said to her, yeah, let me try this. So I got it on my phone, but then she showed me that you can put a background behind you, and you can make that background a video. So I could have Thailand or wherever I was at the time in the background, just whether it's B-roll footage or whatever. I could have that, or I could have a photo in the background. So I thought, okay. So it took me a few minutes, but I downloaded the Zoom and I got everything set up. Turns out that you need a quad-core Mac. I've got a dual-core Mac, so it doesn't show up. But I wanted to have a background. I wanted just to give it a shot. And she's like playing around on hers, and it's like having a new toy for her. So. Anyway, I was going to try to do that, but until I either go on the PC downstairs, which I don't think I'm going to do because I don't really like being down there. But people were buying the wrong stock that had the Zoom symbol. Yeah, I don't know anything about what's going on with Zoom and the stock. I just heard of it from her. I'd like to do it. I mean, I believe I can. It's easier for me to do it with Skype because it's already set up. If I do a conference call, a video conference call with Zoom, I don't know that the OBS will pick it up. I believe it will, but there's no guarantees. Basically, what I have to do is use this OBS converter. Yeah, I know. It's great, but you use the OBS converter and you select a window. You select whatever the software is or whatever you want to highlight. For instance, you want to highlight an image. You just go in. There's a little button. You add an image. We'll have to try that, Soy Dog. We can do like a little test on it. I'd like to do that. I'd like to get people come in and, actually show their faces sometimes. But, it seems that a lot of people in this chat and on my channel seem to be a little bit older. And they're not as willing to just come on and show their face for whatever reason. It doesn't really matter to me. I just, thought it would be kind of cool. But whatever, So we'll have to try to give that a shot. But with back to the Khabib thing. I guess Khabib split from California. He wanted to get back with his family. And, they were going to do this fight where there were no fans. It was just, it says tickets on sale. I don't know if that shot was before everything got canceled and shut down. But apparently Khabib is in quarantine. Even he has a problem with the Wuhan. So he's quarantined. He's finally met his match. Fighting on April 18th is now definitely out of the question. He was Dana White was talking about how, oh yeah, this fight's going to happen. It's definitely going to happen. We don't care. There's no fans. We're going to just televise it. Blah blah blah. Now he's saying everyone knew he's not going to fight. Somehow I don't think Khabib is worried about this guy that he's fighting, Tony Ferguson, although it is a good fight. But, the thing is I've seen my wife has been on calls where she's had 5-6 people in the room, and it works pretty good. So, I'm more than willing to give it a shot. We'll have to work that out. Carlos, what's happening? How you doing? I have a couple come on in conference and have a panel discussion. Now, you see, the thing is that you got to remember something, that I'm trying to put this inside of YouTube. It's not, I can just put it online with Zoom, for everybody to see. So I have to use the converter, the OBS converter, that's what I use, to be able to put people on. Like I have it set up with Skype right now. Man, every morning. But I don't know how the Zoom will work. Yeah, I mean, listen, it's not really a lockdown. I mean, I know people are saying that. At least for most people, it's not a lockdown. And if you have a house, or even like we do, we're in a townhouse, and you have like a carport and you can go outside, at least you have some space to walk around. You don't have people living right on top of you. There are a lot of people in the world who aren't that fortunate, and they open their door and there's just nothing but mud and people walking through and all over them. We're actually been cleaning up in the carport a little bit and trying to don't make me laugh. Richard says, you better set some rules because for sure Billy is going to have his cam pointed at his ding-ding. Well, he's going to need a magnifying glass, I guess, to be able to make it show up on on the screen, even though it is, 1920 by 1280. It's HD here. He may need that. So you have to get him yeah, he's not going to do that because he's still in the dark ages, but he is able to get online. So what was I saying here before we? The Zoom lockdown, the lockdown. Yeah, a lot of people don't have the privilege and the ability to stay inside, or and that's where it's going to get gnarly in a little while. Um, oh yes, we're very fortunate, Mr. Longhorns. Uh, but I will say good morning, good morning. I will say that more and more I'm seeing Thais who are wearing masks, which is a good step. Um, Definitely. Jono is listen. Jono is handling it quite well. All he's doing is cooking. I call him every couple of days and just to say, hey, what's up? He may be listening right now if he's awake. I don't know. He tells me, I try to listen. If I'm awake, I listen. He's always running around doing something. He's probably cooking breakfast and cooking. He's got he used to be a cook, or a chef. So he's like, does the whole meal prep thing. And that's all he's been doing. He's been relaxing. He told me this is a piece of cake. But he did tell me the other day that he wishes he could be back in Bangkok, to where Bangkok was alive again and not quite so dead like it is now. Uh, Let me get to the before we get into the whole get into the truth issue. Thailand now, the Thai government is blocking all travel into Thailand, and that includes Thais. Uh, which I don't know what to say to that. It's but I understand they're trying to do, but to not let in Thais. I mean, I guess hey, he did tell him ahead of time, you better get back, but. He said the Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha said the government needs time to properly prepare for state quarantine. Related agencies will, in the meantime, prepare the places and coordinate with Thai embassies to ensure all Thais return home will be quarantined and get proper medical checks, he said. So he doesn't want to let any Thais in that aren't checked, and I guess he wants to be prepared. The number of cases in Thailand has increased, but it's still relatively, it hasn't exploded yet. And, yeah, it hasn't exploded yet, and I don't know, maybe it will. I hope it won't, but I wouldn't count on it just because this virus is so contagious. And I've seen numerous Thais, just hanging out, doing their thing, and like I said yesterday, lots of motorbike taxis, and they're just sitting around, and they must think that they're okay, they don't have any virus or whatever, which is a little dangerous to think when you're out among half a dozen or a dozen guys who are driving around on a taxi without a mask most of the time. And then you're dealing with customers, and some of the customers have masks. Most of them, I would, from what I've seen, they have masks, but not all of them. But also, the nationwide curfew begins today. All people in Thailand are banned from leaving their home from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. This is the government's latest move to contain the spread of the coronavirus. Violators will receive jail terms of not more than 2 years and or a fine of not more than 40,000 baht. And my wife said to me yesterday, oh, what good is that going to do? And, if you think about it, it does do some good, because there are still a lot of people out, and I'm sure there are people out that are like, I'm going to go see my girl, I'm going to go hang out and party, I'm going to go to 7-Eleven and do this or do that, and they can't do that now. So I think they're making incremental changes here. I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, your guess is as good as mine. But from what I've seen on the ground, Thais have been slowly but surely, they've been getting with the program. I haven't heard that in the United States, but I've heard that far too many people are still not with the program. Now, another thing, Thai Airways suspended all flights starting Saturday. Employees of Thai Airways will cease work and take a pay cut, according to the carrier. The announcement was made on Wednesday, comes after the airline said it would suspend all flights due to duress caused by the Chinese virus, which has forced many countries to shut their borders. Chakrit Parapuntakul, Thai's second vice chairman, who is now the acting Thai president, said the suspension comes with a pay cut ranging from 10 to 40%. What I've heard is pretty standard now is companies want people to take about a 30% pay cut. Instead of calling it pay cuts, the airline said it was rolling out assistance pay packages for employees across the board, plus remuneration, and this is based on rank in the company. Interesting, but they were having a hard time. They've been having a hard time for years, and they're a bit more expensive than most other airlines, budget airlines especially. So who knows what's going to happen with that? But I'm sure they'll get back eventually into the swing. Let's see here. What is this? Yes, everybody. In the U.S. now, everyone is delivering, even CVS and Walgreens. Well, 7-Eleven is delivering here. President of the Philippines has an even simpler solution. Yes, he says that if anybody doesn't comply and they get a little testy, you shoot them dead. That's his solution to just about everything. Hey, if they don't comply, shoot them. Well, it is the CCP virus. They are a virus, to be completely honest. Not holding back anything. That's what I think of. I think they're vermin. But my thoughts are my thoughts only and do not reflect the feelings of this channel. Yes, they do. No issue in compliance here in Omaha. I would think that some of the areas where the population is more spread out, like Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota, those Wyoming, I would think that it would be easier to contain this, but we shall see. Yeah, that's true. Wow, I can't believe this. YouTube actually blocked your comment, Fidelity. I had to release it. Cough, cough, do that, and everyone backs that. It's not a swear word, so that's really strange that they're doing that. But, whatever. That's the way it goes. I'm not going to get into YouTube and all their stuff. So anyway, in today's stream, we're going to discuss getting to the truth. And who do you believe? Is the truth to the left, the right, somewhere in the middle? Just a few days ago, it was with the president's 15 days to stop the spread. Now today, it's with the president's 30 days to stop the spread. Now this is not really an example of getting to the truth. This is just a change of tact. But if you believe China, the United States is completely to blame for this. We started everything. It's, and we want to believe that they're in the middle of a propaganda war with us, or a campaign with us. So was this an accident or a deliberate action? I mean, some people think this is a big conspiracy, or it came from the United States, was sent over to China, and then somehow the virus got free and, made its way to the market. I mean, seriously, half the time I don't know what to believe and what not to believe. poo contains the virus. What about farts? Only you would think about that, but insightful thinking. Yeah, I know, I know. One of the things, though, is that, first of all, what I see is a lot of news organizations, and I will say the majority of the time it happens to be somebody like CNN, CNBC, because to be completely honest, Fox, which maybe they try to be a little less slanted, but they are too slanted, and they kiss. I mean, I see Hannity interview Trump, and I just think to myself, Jesus Christ, he's like feeding him softballs. It's like he soft pedals. He doesn't. He hears the president say something, and he doesn't answer his question, and he just moves on to the next question. I mean, it's like things like that. And I just get irritated when I hear this kind of stuff. Well, if you listen to some of the leaders and some of those in the various administrations around the world, blame it on the foreigners. Blame it on the Westerners. Blame it on the Americans. Okay. Now, what made me think about this is not the usual BS about everything that's going on. Yeah, I believe that too, Tom. I believe it's just I wouldn't put it past anybody to do anything, and that shows you where we're at today. I don't know about you guys, but I think that the majority of people, Americans at least, don't trust their government very, very much. And they certainly don't trust a lot of foreign governors. Foreign governments. Still asleep. Although I have had two espressos today. We got some coffee beans last night, ground it up, very nice, fresh coffee, no more instant. I love it. Yeah, blame Canada. Let's blame Liechtenstein. But I came across a few things. Now, first of all, before I get into this, to the main letters that I wanted to go over. I would not want to be a leader of a country. No way. Because no matter what, Trump, whoever it is, they're damned if they do and they're damned if they don't. There's always going to be, listen, this has taught me a lot. YouTube is a very small scale compared to what these guys are going through. I mean, you get hated on YouTube, it's not that big of a deal. You get hated by people around the world. There's a lot of people that they might actually try to do something to you. They might try to harm you. Or throw a pie in your face or whatever. And what I'd like to know from all these journalists, guys like in CNN and Fox and Reuters and all these places, I'd really like to know, are any of them writing the Dummy's Guide for Leading the War Against the Coronavirus? Because I'd like to see that book, because so many of them are complaining about the way that the president has handled this entire situation. They're just complaining. It's all they do is complain. They never acknowledge any positives. It's like, Jesus Christ, how much more blatant can you be? They didn't complain about Obama and all the other administrations. They didn't say, oh, well, hey, they share in the responsibility for a lack of essential medical essential medical equipment. You don't hear him saying that. And you hear Trump saying, oh, we inherited a broken system. Okay, you did, but still, he's had 3 years. I don't think a whole lot's been done in that 3 years, so he shares in the blame. And the thing is that finding blame is very easy. Dealing with the situation, especially a situation as fluid and dangerous as this, is not. And so you got these journalists coming out. I see these journalists asking stupid question after stupid question after stupid question. And I'm thinking to myself, what is the point of this? I'd love to be a leader of a country. I would be a good dictator loved by all. I'd be the benevolent king. And for those who don't love me, they'll be dealt with appropriately. Now it's more broken. Yeah, off with their head. I think that's probably that's what people understand. You want to be the ambassador to Thailand. Oh, man. I don't think that'd be an easy job either, because, there's a lot of people out there going, what does our tax dollars go for? You let these Thais do all this stuff. We live here, and what's the deal? They kicked me out of the country. Well, did you have a long-term visa? No, but what do I need one for? I've been coming here for years on a tourist visa. Well, sir, you're supposed to get the proper visa. No, they're assholes. That's what it is. They're assholes. That applies to several people who have bitched and pissed and moaned about not being able to be here. They've been making excuses like no one would have predicted this was going to happen. Well, listen. They know there's always a chance. You go outside, there's a chance you might get hit by a truck. Now, that this happens fairly regular. There are different viruses going around. And this is something that I think people overlook it. Maybe not anymore, but I think they overlook it. And they knew this was going to happen eventually. It's just a matter of when. And the way that the money is handled, the shitty way that they handle the budget, tells you a lot, because I think they worry about spending money on these kind of things, and then they get called on. What did you think about this? If they had bought a bunch of ventilators, say 2 years ago, they said we need to be better prepared. We're going to spend, I don't know how much, $50 million, $5 million. We're going to spend $10 million on ventilators. People would have said, you spent $10 million on ventilators for what? We don't have a problem. We've got enough ventilators. You're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Now, I got to say that, they passed this stimulus bill, and two people, they're right back at it, these assholes. That's the way I look at them. Nancy Pelosi, I can't stand her. I want her to retire. Go away. Leave. And Adam Schiff, he's another one. He reminds me of a turtle. And that's, he's to me, he reminds me of a dildo. Adam Schiff. A dildo, turtle, whatever. Now, Nancy Pelosi, she wants to set up a select committee to oversee the spending of the stimulus funds. The spending of the stimulus funds, now her Democratic Party, remember, they're the ones who wanted to add in all these different things that had nothing to do with the coronavirus. I'm still pissed off that the Kennedy Center gets 25 freaking million, and they were supposed to get 35 million. I'm sorry, even they have a lot of expensive art and things that need to be taken care of there, but I cannot believe that they need that much money. I don't know, I just don't get it. She doesn't seem to have anything better to do, and the Democratic Party has made it much more difficult to pass that bill than it really should have been. They should have all been on board, and now she's the one who's going to make sure that I'm going to keep everybody in line. I'm going to keep everybody in line and make sure that they spend that money properly. Yeah. This is the thing. I don't trust her. I barely trust the government, period. But I certainly don't trust her. Now, Adam Schiff wants to set up a committee to investigate the way the president has handled the Wuhan response. And what I'm wondering is this the time to do that? Because it certainly doesn't reek of bipartisanship. And is this what's good for the people? You want to do something? They are so scared of losing this next election. And I dare say the chance of them losing is great. I don't see any. listen, to give you an idea, Bruce, who comes into chat, I don't know if he's in here today. Thanks a lot there, Tom. Yeah, thanks. Bribing me, huh? If I become president, I'm going to elect Tom as the ambassador to Thailand. All right, let me think here. I'm getting off track. Adam Schiff. What was I talking about here? Let me see. Gotta get back to my... bipartisanship. How is this good for the people? People here... We're going to... we're going to investigate the president again. Jesus Christ. And I'm not a religious person. We're going to investigate him once again because we don't fucking like him and we think he's going to he has a good chance of winning and we don't want him to. And then what I was going to say earlier was that Bruce, who I don't think he's in the chat, maybe he's listening. He said to me, "Where's Joe?" And we had not spoken about anything about politics or anything. We were talking about Thailand and was he still working at work or at home or whatever. And he just said, "Where's Joe?" And I said, "Who's Joe?" And I was like thinking to myself, do I know a Joe from the stream? I thought he was talking about, somebody who watches the streams and the videos. I was like, "Who's Joe?" And he goes, "Come on, man." He goes, "Come on." And I'm like, "Come on what?" I don't know who you're talking about. Joe Biden. And I'm like, "Oh, I wasn't even thinking of him." And he said, "Well, that's how irrelevant he is." And that is pretty telling. Now, I'm not the most politically astute person, nor do I give a shit most of the time. I do now because it means that, we're semi-locked down. The U.S. has pinheads for leaders. Well, I think they've had pinheads for leaders for a little while. No new investigation is going to gain any traction. I don't think so. I don't think that... they've been trying... They are desperate to get him out of office. And I get it. But you know what? Maybe the best thing to do is be desperate to do a lot of things for the people and let the people decide, let the chips fall where they may. Not just trying to annihilate this guy, because say what you will about the guy, you can't deny that the CNN, listen, not to get off the subject, but where is this here? The little thing that I saw. I saw a little thing today on CNN. I was looking at the rankings, the ratings, and how Fox had just trounced CNN and NBC and CBS. And then I looked at CNN this morning, and everything was against what's going on, against what they're trying to do. Oh, we found this. And New York Times too. We found that a lot of the ventilators don't even work. And I'm wondering, does CNN do anything more than slam the president and Republicans? And then I just happened to stumble upon Don Lemon cries for his friend on the air. He's talking to some lady whose name I can't pronounce and I didn't write down because I don't want to say it because it's not important. But he's crying about Chris Cuomo having the Chinese virus because it comes from China. And then he says, "Oh, well, we're good friends. And, he lives right down the street from me." And nobody gives a shit. Honestly, I don't want to, listen, I hope the guy gets better, of course. But, do I got to see Don Lemon crying on the air? Listen, if it was his last day after 30 years, you see in the old days, it was like Andy Rooney, he left. Nobody was crying. They just were like, hey, they give him his 2 minutes to say goodbye, and that's the end of it. But no, we got to watch him crying, whining and crying. And then, the thing is that he's a little bitch most of the time anyway, with the way that he is. Yeah, Fredo. Fredo. And you know what's so funny is he thinks he's such a badass, but like if it was somebody like Forrest Griffin from the UFC, who used to fight in the UFC, and Forrest Griffin said, "What did you say to me?" And then he got testy with him. The guy would laugh in his face. He'd be like, "I'm going to pick you up and drop you on your head. You're not as bad as you think you are, and you don't really need to do that. You're supposed to be a professional, you know." Listen, I used to like CNN many moons ago. I used to like Wolf Blitzer, and I remember when Anderson Cooper came to Thailand and he was doing some piece on illegal wildlife trade, and was in Bangkok and had been up in Chiang. Where was it? It was up Mae Hong Son. He was up on the border. Which Mae Hong Son, by the way, is closed to foreigners, completely closed. Well, yeah, I mean, this is the thing. It's gotten too bad on Fox. I mean, listen, I preferred Fox, say, a year ago, 2 years ago. But Jesus, they've gotten out of hand. I mean, it's like we're the only one we tell it like it is. We're fair. No, you're not really fair. I mean, Trump can be a bit of a dumbass. He comes off as a bit of a dunce sometimes. You ask him a question and he thinks he really does think he's answering the question, and he's not. But anyway, Anderson Cooper came over here, and I thought, oh, he's over there in Chatuchak. And I was like, man, I should try to go over there and catch it when it's happening and photograph him in CNN. And I was going to go down there, and I thought, nah, not going to be worth it. And I used to like those guys, and then they just radically changed. And now, what really has pissed me off is that they're coming out calling their station and other stations to not even cover the press conferences of the president, and they're just showing snippets of it now. They're not covering his initial comments when he comes out, which is, to me, it's like, okay, if that's what you want to do, fine. And then you wonder why you lose a lot of viewers, because viewers want to see it. Most viewers want to see it no matter what. Yeah, I mean, Fox does criticize him sometimes, but they don't go at him as hard as CNN does, for sure. Yeah, we'll see what happens with Trump, but if there's nobody worth a shit that's going against him, what's going to happen? I don't know. Now, I have to read something. And let me put this up here, if I can figure out. There we go. All right, now let me pull this up for myself. Can I do this? Yeah. Okay. God damn it. All right, now this letter is addressed to Rupert Murdoch. Oops. To Fox Corporation Chairman Rupert Murdoch and Fox Corporation CEO Lachlan Murdoch. Americans consistently rate the Fox News Channel as one of the most trusted TV channels. The average age of Fox News viewers is 65. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm not 65. It is well established that this population incurs the greatest risk from COVID-19 pandemic. In other words, Fox viewers are at special risk from the coronavirus. All right, let me see something here. Has this come up yet? Let me see here. Oops. All right, it is up. Okay, good. Can you see that? Let me see here. Looks like it's a little bit... Well, that's going to have to do. Let me just read it. Okay, it is. But viewers of Fox News, including the President of the United States, have been regularly subjected to misinformation relayed by the network, false statements downplaying the prevalence of COVID-19 and its harms, misleading recommendations of activities that people should undertake to protect themselves and others, including casual recommendations of untested drugs, false assessments of the value of measures urged upon the public by their elected political leadership and public health authorities. The misinformation that reaches the Fox News audience is a danger to public health. Indeed, it is not an overstatement to say that your misreporting endangers your own viewers and not only them, for in a pandemic, individual behavior affects significant numbers of other people as well. Yet, by commission, as well as omission, direct, uncontested information. Okay, so basically what they're saying, without going on, says the basic purpose of news organizations is to discover and tell the truth. This is especially necessary and obvious amid a public health crisis. Television bears a particular responsibility because even more millions than usual look for reliable information. Inexcusably, Fox has violated elementary canons of journalism. Jesus Christ. In so doing, it has contributed to the spread of a grave pandemic. Urgently, therefore, in the name of both good journalism and public health, we call upon you to protect the lives of all Americans, including your elderly viewers, by ensuring that the information you deliver is based on scientific facts. And it is a professor from Columbia Journalism, the Eaton Chair of Broadcast Journalism in University of Maryland, a Pulitzer Prize-winning author. Now, two people, the Graduate School of Journalism, Adam Hochschild, and Edward Wasserman, the Dean of the Graduate School of Journalism from Berkeley. Okay? Now, let me get rid of this. In other words, they have been told, or they have taken it upon themselves to write to the heads of Fox, basically to say, you guys are at fault and are partially to blame for the coronavirus. I don't even know what to say to that. And, you know, the thing is that they don't address it to CNN. They don't address it to MSNBC and Rachel Maddow. And are they that much better than Fox? No. And just to blame Fox for contributing to this virus is just ludicrous. And then they're saying, oh, they are casually recommending untested drugs. No, they didn't do that. They haven't said, oh yeah, well, we'll go run out and get that. That's not what they've said, and that's not what, you want to talk about fake news. That's not what they said, and that's not what the president said either. He didn't say go run out and have some fish tank cleaner. He didn't say go out and buy all that drug up. And he said exactly what the truth is. This is the thing. Now, people can't handle the truth. They don't want to know the truth. They want to hear what they hear, and then if something happens afterwards, or if they don't like what was said, then they want to declare it as harmful. Or, you know, I just don't understand it. So that letter in itself is what made me think about the truth. Because these guys took it upon themselves to write Fox. How about other people that... It's like CNN saying we shouldn't cover like an actual anchor person saying we should not cover the president's White House press briefings. First of all, if I was in head of the organization, I would give him one warning. I'd say, don't you ever say that again. You don't determine what gets covered. If I want to know what you think about what we're covering, I'll ask you, but you don't need to comment on what we decide to cover. Okay? And since when did they decide to get involved? See, getting involved as a journalist like that means you're losing your journalistic ethics. You are not a journalist anymore. You're becoming part of the situation. You're not supposed to get involved in it. You're not supposed to try to sway the situation blatantly. That's not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to just report the frickin' news. And as one person said to Don Lemon the other day, hey, the way that you look at it is slanted to fit your narrative, to fit your agenda. The way that many other people look at it is quite a bit different. So that was one of the letters. I think a lot of people are frightened right now about what's going on. And I think that the news is actually making it worse. I don't think it's making it better. What's going on with my... let's see here. Well, yeah, that's another thing to think about, is that everybody was so enthralled with the impeachment. How many people actually believed that this was going to be something truly serious? I said I didn't think it was a big deal. You know, I admit that. I said that because I'm not a medical professional. Maybe the medical professionals had not contacted him at the time, and he just said, hey, you know. But I'm not a medical professional. I don't know everything that's going on. I wasn't contacted. You know, like I see this. What I do see, and I could bring this up again. It's another CNN article, but it is noted as an opinion piece, and it says on there that the opinions of this guy, I forget his name, Ed. Let me look. I better come up with the facts here. Bring up the facts. Nothing but the facts. Larry, what's happening? Now, this is about the governor of Florida. Errol Lewis is the guy's name. And it says, Errol Lewis is the host of Inside City Hall, a nightly... Oops. Turn this off real quick. A nightly political show on NY1, a New York all-news channel. The opinions expressed in this commentary are his own. View more opinion articles on CNN. Now, it's relatively small text. You could see it, but it's, you know, it is small. Okay? Now, this guy's talking about how the governor waited longer than some of the other governors and wasn't effective, and he was lackadaisical. And that in ways that will undoubtedly cost many Floridians their health and perhaps their lives. And, you know, so, like, basically this guy's going, oh, well, you screwed up and you're costing people lives, and it's just his opinion. That's all it is. It's his opinion. It's not based on any fact. He's saying, well, you know, because you didn't close the city and issue the stay-at-home order right away. Listen, people who were smart were staying at home anyway. They already knew. I was involved in a pandemic team at work. Was involved in setting up the business continuity plan. Interesting. Well, you know what's so funny because, if we're going to talk about the truth, is there are people that are still in Hubei province in Wuhan who are claiming that the CCP is not giving accurate numbers. They're lying about what's going on and that the place is still in the middle of a major crisis. January 2, Trump wrote a Wall Street op-ed with Trump to take the beyond trend. Okay, it's an op-ed piece. It's their opinion. Are they health? Are they medical professionals? Are they people involved in the in some the what is it, the house, the Health Human Services or whatever it is? You know, I find it a little bit difficult to just see. Hindsight is 2020. We can go back and bitch and piss and moan. He didn't do this. He didn't do that. Listen, you know what? The bottom line is the whole government blew it. They blew it. They blew it 30 years ago. They blew it 20 years ago. They blew it 10 years ago. And yes, Trump he should share some of the blame in this because he didn't do anything in the first 3 years. Not that I know of. He didn't get any ventilators and all kinds of PPE, stuff. He didn't get this stuff. He could have had this stuff. And the thing that I heard him say today is that the states are responsible for that stuff, and none of the states wanted to spend the money. And then I heard somebody earlier saying, well, they're waiting for your direction. They're waiting for you to say that they need to do that. And he's like, listen, get real. Yeah, but when was this, Beyond Trinity? Yeah, see, they always want to pin it on the president because, the buck stops here, right? But what about the CDC? Nobody's talking about the WHO, okay? People don't talk about the WHO. And listen, I don't trust the guy. I'm sorry, they say he's very soft-spoken, this, whatever his name is. I can't even say it. He's from Ethiopia, I think. Nothing against Ethiopians at all, but I don't know. I don't remember his name, Adris or something like that. But the head of the World Health Organization, where's it? Who funds his organization? And as I understand it, they're pitifully funded, but yet Chinese have. They are the ones who have funded a lot of the World Health Organization, and he has had other issues in the past about cholera. He covered up the cholera. And so how can you trust an organization like that? Now, I don't know about the CDC. As far as I'm concerned, from what I've seen and from what I know, a large portion of them, there may be some bad apples. There are always bad apples. Why don't they answer? Latest this is another. I mean, come on. That's the thing, Tom. Latest Democratic investigation is just another ploy. In November, it's Biden or Trump. Sorry, no contest. I agree. It's just another reason to, look at him. He's such a bad person. Look at all the bad things he's doing. Let's just take away from what he's doing now. Do you think Tim Allen and Starbucks know the true situation, what the true situation is now in China? I don't think Starbucks gives a shit. Tim Allen, you mean Tim the Tool Man? Tim the Tool Man Taylor? Back in the early 2000s when we had SARS, Chinese weren't allowed to travel out China as easily. I remember people being interviewed for hours before they were allowed to leave. I worked in China during SARS. It always comes down to the dough. Yes, definitely. Has there been has been their strategic national stockpile. Trump had intel in January. The WHO bungled this from the beginning. They kept kissing the Chinese butt. CCP, H1N1, and other. What would have helped if he had not disbanded pandemic unit Obama set up that experts had praised? The WHO needed to call it a pandemic from earlier clock. We all had intel in January. Apparently, it was false, like the WHO was saying it wasn't a person-to-person contagion because China said so. Now, listen, I hate to just, I know I'm just going on and on and on about this, but how can you freaking believe the CCP? How can you believe them? Anything they do is done to put them in a better position than whoever they're dealing with. It's not a win-win. It's a we want to win and we want you to lose. We will do what we have to because they're playing the long game. And they have been, and personally I hope that they fall apart. I don't give a shit what happens. Really. I hope that they have a better government. That's what I hope. But, at the end of the day, I'd like to see them disappear. Would have helped if he had not disbanded. Problem is also states closing and underfunding public health labs. Sorry, I meant Tim Cook, not Tim Allen. I was wondering, man. I was like, Tim Allen? If it was Obama in charge with the same inaction, he'd be tarred and fed. Bullshit! What are you talking about? If it was Obama, they would have been kissing his ass going, well, he must really know. He knows what he's talking about. Please. The office has been there fully staffed for 30 years. Yeah, I don't know why he did that. I remember him talking about it, but I don't remember what, that. If they needed the people there, then I don't know why he would reduce them. Maybe, he felt that some people were redundant. I don't know. Now, I got to read something to you guys. I have to read something else. This was just in The Nation a couple days ago. And this is an opinion piece. No, this is not an opinion piece. Excuse me. This was taken from the Facebook site of the Chinese embassy in Bangkok. And this is what it says. As an old Chinese saying goes, it's impolite not to make a return for what one receives. A few days ago, Michael George Desombre, the U.S. ambassador to Thailand, there you go, Tom, wrote to Bangkok Post deliberately using the novel coronavirus epidemic to smear and attack China. In this regard, it is necessary for the Chinese side to make a solemn response and set the record straight. At first, some American officials arbitrarily labeled the virus and linked it to China, which was strongly opposed by the international community, including many Americans. I don't remember that. Not at all. I don't remember seeing that anywhere. The chair of the U.S. Congressional Asian Pacific American Caucus said it is dangerous, referring to COVID-19 as the Chinese virus at a time when misinformation has led to racist and xenophobic attacks against Asian Americans. Please, don't give me that horse shit. I'm sorry. To me, that's just a bunch of bullshit. People know the difference. I know there are some exceptions, but most people know the difference between the government and people. Yes, there are people out there, it's going to happen. But guess what? It's going to happen no matter what you call it because most people believe that it came from China, and I think rightly so. The World Health Organization, you got to bring them up, emphasized avoidance of any indication of ethnic, geographic, or other associations with the virus. Says who? Says the World Health Organization? What happened to the Hong Kong flu? The pandemic of influenza H1N1 originated in North America, but we don't call it the North American flu. Not to mention, even Robert Redfield, director of the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, prevaricated over the actual number of deaths from COVID from 2019 to 2020 influenza season. Who on earth is lying? Who's hiding the truth? Yeah, that's my question. The U.S. administration owes the world an explanation. I mean, these people are so freaking arrogant, man. That's how I look at it. That's my view. And it's an opinion. I want to make that clear. CCP didn't let CDC go to Wuhan. Yeah, they don't say this. Trump cuts the CDC while giving $1 trillion tax. Blah, 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 blah. The China office reduced under Chinese orders. There you go. You see? Everything is not as it seems. Realizing the failure of the efforts of stigmatization, some certain Americans turn to distort the fact, attacking China for not being open, transparent on information sharing. When the fuck have they ever been open and transparent? That's such a crock of shit. And it's such Chinese propaganda. They are never honest. As a matter of fact, China has been providing very timely updates to the WHO and related countries starting from last December. The problem with that is that the WHO is questionable in itself, and their dealings with China and the fact that they are funded partially, greatly by China, makes their reputation questionable. I would say just from appearances alone. Since January, and I think that appearances are very important in some cases, and this is one of them. Since January 3, China has been notifying the U.S. side of the epidemic developments, prevention, and control measures in China on a regular basis. That's not what has been reported in the news. Now, I don't know, I mean, like these news agencies, they want to say that they're telling the truth. Well, this is something that, yeah, and this is the other thing, is that too many times, companies, people, politicians, they're too diplomatic with China. Well, yeah, I mean, listen, Rick, too many idiots don't understand the difference between government and people. Most of them are Trump supporters. Now, I don't necessarily agree with that. Like the one who attacked a family of 3, including a 2-year-old with a knife. Obviously, that's a horrible thing, and it doesn't matter who you support. That shouldn't happen. But to say that most of them are Trump supporters, I don't know that that's true. I mean, where you get that information from? Well, all the ones who are the idiots are the Trump supporters. I mean, come on. Like I look at it this way: who are you going to vote for? You really want to vote for Clinton, Hillary Clinton? Go ahead. That's your right. Vote for Hillary Clinton. Or you vote for Trump. Or whoever else is in it. Vote for whoever you want. But Trump won. And to say that all the idiots, most of the idiots are his supporter, I just don't buy that. Sorry. You got all kinds of Chinese doctors disappearing. Whistleblowers disappearing. Yeah, right now, what's going on. Let me just continue this, though. Principal officials of Chinese and American health authorities and CDC spoke on the phone frequently. 2 American experts attended the China-WHO joint mission and conducted their 9-day field trip to China. Interestingly, on January 25th, President Trump tweeted that China has been working very hard to contain the coronavirus. Well, he may have thought so at the time. The U.S. greatly appreciates China's efforts in transparency. And you got to remember also, he's trying to do business with China and keep the trade situation open so that both countries benefit, especially the United States. The U.S. greatly appreciates China's efforts in transparency. And later on March 13th, President Trump told reporters that the data China shared are helpful with the U.S. efforts against the pandemic. That doesn't mean shit. U.S.'s performance of a 180-degree turn makes people beg the question, who on earth is lying? No, it doesn't. It doesn't make me think that at all. The outbreak is growing rapidly in the United States, and lies cannot save American people's lives. Well, that's true. While the U.S. administration is still having trouble updating accurate national data on daily basis, wait a minute, national data on daily cases and trying to blame China's misinformation for its failure to prevent the pandemic. No, it's not only the failure to prevent it. We're not saying that, I don't think anybody's saying, well, they failed to prevent it, although that is something to think about. It's also about not being open enough when it started happening and admitting that there was human-to-human transmission. And it's also continually lying even to this day. Where did why have they not come out and said something about the 21 million cell phone numbers that have just disappeared? Why are they not talking about the burn pits? Why are they not talking about all the people that are reporting from various places in China who are saying, we hate our government, we don't like what they're doing, and we're risking our lives to say to tell the people of the world what's really going on? They don't ever say anything about this shit. Sorry, but that's the way I feel. While continuing our fight against the disease at home, China is also reaching out to the international community, providing assistance to about 100 countries in need, including Thailand. We will never forget the political support, there you go, and material donations from all friendly countries and regions. Chinese people will stand firm and fight side by side with the people in Thailand and all over the world to tide over difficulties. Now, what he doesn't say is all of the shit merchandise that they've been distributing around the world and how people are wondering, why are you doing this? Are you purposely trying to make things worse? Are you trying to harm people in the Netherlands and in Italy by giving them faulty shit? And by shit, I mean equipment. Virus knows no borders. The urgent task for the international community is to defeat the COVID-19 together. We urge the U.S. side to stop blame shifting and lying. That's what they do every single situation. Anything that supposedly they do wrong, they play the blame game and blame somebody else. Put its own house in order and play, well, that's what we're doing, and play a constructive role in enhancing international health cooperation against the disease. Please. China would like to work with all countries who put aside political biases to achieve the final victory over the pandemic and safeguard regional and international public health security. This was posted on the Facebook site of the Chinese embassy. It makes me sick to read that. Now, obviously, who am I? I don't really know any more than anybody else, but what I gather from experience, from research, from people who do know far more than I do, telling me this, so anecdotal evidence, I guess, from their experiences, is that this particular letter is just another way for them to say, hey, no, it wasn't us. It's the United States. They're the ones that, they're the ones engaging. Even the Boris Johnson, and he has the virus. Even he said China is engaging in a propaganda war here in the UK, and also, with the United States. Washington Post said, U.S. officials said, U.S. intelligence warned Trump. Okay. All right. But, here's the thing. Like I said, hindsight is 20/20. It's very easy to look back and say, oh, he didn't listen. How do you know? Maybe his advisors were the ones who told him, listen, right now we don't think it's a big deal. So then he goes and says, hey, I don't think it's a big deal. He doesn't make every single decision. This is the thing. There is some delegation going on. Now we're starting to see the real mix between the people who support him and don't. And I look at it a little bit differently maybe than some people, because I look at it like, yes, I am patriotic even living here. I am patriotic. And that means that you abide by the people who voted him in. That was the people's wishes. Their votes were the people's wishes. And you can try to poo-poo it. You can try to say that it's a big lie. You can say that it was Russia. You can believe all this bullshit. But guess what? The votes say something else. He was voted in. So voted in, he is the commander-in-chief. He is the president. Now, you may not like what he does, but, you know, at the very least, you can support the positives that he has enacted and that what he does and how he handles things. Do you believe want a war? What? China wants a war and Corona was a biological weapon. I don't want to believe that. Okay? I don't want to believe that. It could be true. And, you know, this is the other thing. We might not find this shit out for years. It may be 10 years when we find this out. Oh, yeah, it was. There's evidence that leads us to believe, and then, you know, maybe we got a better relationship with China and, you know, the Chinese government. Maybe something has changed. Who knows? You never know. That's the thing. I mean, look how many countries that we had problems with in the past, and now we're, you know, we do business with them regularly. Look at Japan, Germany. It's enough meaningful. Definitely agree. Yeah. Some of advisors need to take. Well, Larry, I hate to tell you this, but you're not an American. You know. And I don't think you're in the know any more than I am or many other people are. That's the issue. Okay, that's why the truth is so important. Because when it comes down to us, most of us don't really know what the fuck's going on. I hate to tell you that. I hate to put it that way. And, you know, it may seem you are, but you don't live there? You're an American citizen. Well, sorry then. My apologies. Okay. Enough said. Well, if he does that on his own, then what are you fucking concerned about? You can't do anything about it right now. It's not going to happen. He's the president. You know, bottom line. Yeah, I mean, listen, I can find a lot about Trump that I don't like, and I can find some things that I do like. But I can tell you one thing. I don't like Hillary Clinton. I wouldn't fucking trust that lady. I trust her about as much as I trust the CCP. Okay, if that gives you an idea. So getting to the truth is very important, and this is the problem. It used to be, I used to trust the news. I mean, I was younger then, you know, maybe I was more naive and gullible. I don't know. I certainly wasn't as political. I didn't give a shit about politics. Now, I don't want to give a shit. And quite frankly, I wake up in the morning. I wake up 4 o'clock every morning, you know, and like I listen to stuff in the afternoon. I've started doing this for the last year. In the afternoon, I listen to news and various podcasts about things I want to hear about. And in the morning, I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and I read and do research about whatever it is I'm doing. And since I can't go anywhere lately, this has been something that's been on everybody's mind because they want to get back to normal life. So here's the thing, Beyond Trinity. If you don't like Hillary and you don't like Trump, then you always have that option not to vote, you know. And so then you don't really have any, you know, you got to make a choice. Nobody said that choices are going to be perfect and that, you know, you're going to get everything you want. Yeah, I mean, listen, I always say Walter Cronkite, What was the other guy's name? Dan Rather, David Brinkley, Chet Brinkley, all those guys. That was when there was 3 TV stations. 3 TV stations and maybe a local station or something like that. Let me see something here. I got another. Where is that letter? Okay, now I gotta say that if you have watched the video of the guy from the World Health Organization, I think his name was Bruce Eiler. He was being interviewed by RTHK, which is a Hong Kong news organization. He was being interviewed by this young lady, and she asked him, what about Taiwan? And he acted like he didn't hear her. And then she asked him again, and he hung up on her. And so then she called back. He did not want to answer the question. So I just saw this press response to media inquiries on the HK program. In response to media inquiries regarding concerns arising from an interview with an official of the World Health Organization in a radio television Hong Kong program, This is another thing from the U.S. Embassy. A spokesman for the Commercial and Economic Development Bureau said the following today, April 2. The Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development, Mr. Edward Yao, has clearly stated in a press release issued by the CEDB on February 18th and at his media stand-up on March 17th that the RTHK must uphold and abide by the Charter of RTHK in discharging its duties to provide public service broadcasting. In reporting their work to the CEDB, the Director of Broadcasting and RTHK Management, have repeatedly pledged to the Secretary that the RTHK will strictly adhere to and at all times abide by the Charter. Yada, yada, yada. Let me see here. Okay. The public purposes and mission of RTHK have been clearly specified in the Charter, which includes engendering a sense of citizenship and national identity through programs that contribute to the understanding of our community and nation and promoting understanding of the concept of one country, 2 systems. Okay. The Secretary holds the view that the presentation in that episode of the aforesaid program has breached the One China principle and the purposes and mission of RTHK as a public service broadcaster as specified in the Charter. It is common knowledge that the WHO membership, the World Health Organization membership, is based on sovereign states. RTHK, as a government department and public service broadcaster, should have proper understanding of the above without deviation. As the editor-in-chief, the director of broadcasting should be responsible for this. The Secretary has once again urged the Director of Broadcasting and RTHK to fully abide by the Charter and that they must handle all programs in a professional and vigilant manner as required of them. Okay, that was April 2nd. Now, the reason that they did that they said that, is because they don't want people asking about Taiwan. That whole long letter, hey, Taiwan is part of China, and Taiwan believes otherwise. And you know what? You're not entitled to ask a question about it. Is the WHO going to allow them in? And so this is the thing. Think about all the problems. I used to say this was about the Islamic countries, that a lot of the problems had to do with religion. I still think there are some major problems because of the difference of opinions on how people should live around the world. But this type of censorship to where, well, if you ask about this, we're not even going to talk to you about it. You're the World Health Organization. You're supposed to be free from all that bullshit. But instead they say that this is part of the charter. This is China that is basically issuing this letter, the Chinese government. So once again, if you try to ask any questions that might be detrimental to what people think about China, guess what? We're going to cut you off, and we're going to actually threaten your charter as a press organization. So, Trinity, how about Sleeping Joe? I think it was so funny. I mean, I can read it to you right now. It's from did he write me on there, or did he write me in the thing here? He wrote me in here. Well, I don't know where it is. Oh. Yeah, we're talking about, here we go. They're not even, we're talking about how CNN is not allowing, they're not showing the president speaking at the beginning. They're cutting that out. They don't think it's important enough. And he says, then they were all over the pillow, man, because he dared show support and faith. Good grief. Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't particularly like people spouting off about religion, but, you know, he is doing something very good, and he's very helpful to people, and he's not asking people to join his, to join up with him. What do you call it? Congregation. Now, imagine they're bashing this guy. Imagine if that was a Muslim up there. Would they do the same thing? No, they wouldn't. Okay, so then the very next question that Bruce asked me is, has anyone heard of Joe lately? And I put Joe, ? Joe who? Or Bernie, just like that Seltzer man has dropped off the radar. And he's like, come on, man, give me a break. And I honestly didn't even know what the hell he was talking about. I wasn't even thinking about Joe. Because to me, he's nothing. It would be awesome if after the election, President Trump recognizes Taiwan. Yes, it would be. Just read that Duarte said he will shoot people who violates the Philippine lockdown. Interesting. Actually, what he said was that if the people violate the lockdown and they give the police any trouble, shoot them dead. That's what he said. He didn't just say, if you're out, they're not going to just shoot you because you're out. They may ask you, hey, what are you doing? Well, sir, I'm going to get the medicine from my mother. She's 80 years old and she needs this mother. Hopefully they would not, shoot the person. They said they would mass produce the vaccine in the summer, way before trials are over if it shows promise. So if it does pass, we wouldn't have to wait. Yes. It would be an emergency type thing. Trump already has recognized Taiwan. I don't think he's formally recognized it, though. The problem is no government has ever challenged China on the Taiwan question. They're concerned of political repercussions. There are concerns. Well, this is the whole thing. Companies, countries, it's time to put up or shut up. You're going to have to buck up. Either you're going to be sucking off their tit for the rest of your life, or you're going to pull away, and hopefully you'll make it on your own. I mean, yeah, anybody in their right mind who is an American is going to have some apprehension. I'm not going to say they're not going to trust the Chinese, because there are some people in China who are decent, honest business people. But I do think that people are going to be extremely apprehensive. So, it goes back to, once again, it goes back to who do you believe? Because I was thinking about it and I thought, well, if I was growing up in China, I'd believe my country. I'd probably believe my country. I don't know. I guess it depends on how much exposure I had to the outside world. I grew up in the United States where I was free to research and think about what I wanted to think about, and I've moved on from there, and I've traveled all over the world and seen different things, and I know that things are not always as they seem. I don't know. I don't know what they'll do. I don't think it's quite as easy as China marching, the Chinese government marching into Hong Kong. I think that there's going to be some hell to pay if they do that one way or the other. Do I think there'll be a revolution? I think there are far more people against the government in China than we know or we believe. I think there's a lot of people that don't like the leader. They don't like communism. Um, Now, I don't know if they'll have a revolution. I don't know what, but I do think that in some kind of a crisis, that's when they'll be vulnerable. Not to say that that's going to make them vulnerable enough to be able to be taken over or for them to fall apart. Now, they may fall apart economically. I don't know. They're already, listen, if you think China is, it's perfect and, they're stealing everything and they're so wealthy, yeah, portions, the government might be, but there's a lot of people that are very, very poor there. We can only hope. Not much we could do militarily. I mean, China is already there. Listen, Hong Kong they made an agreement. Right now, China is not abiding by the agreement. I think that's very clear. And it's very clear to the people who are there. To the foreigners who are there. I think it's quite clear what the CCP is doing inside of Hong Kong. And I think when the Hong Kongers bridge up and they try to fight back, it's the only thing they can do in their own whatever way it is, however small. Whether it's not frequenting a restaurant that is sympathetic to the CCP. Yeah, it's time to retire. I keep praying that I have enough money to retire in the future and that things will be okay and I don't have to think about this stuff where I can go disappear. I mean, listen, I have kind of disappeared. For 3 weeks, I've went out 3 times and I haven't really gone anywhere. I know you're not trolling, Gennaro. Gennaro, you missed the thing about Khabib. Khabib's decided to stay home. He ain't fighting. It's like, I'm in quarantine. I'm not coming out. He's in Russia. So, I don't blame him, quite honestly. Yeah, I mean, people have been going through this kind of turmoil for how many years? As long as man has been around. I saw a funny cartoon. It was funny to me. Might not be funny to Chinese. I don't know. Sorry if it's not, but it was very funny to me, so I'm going to talk about it. I don't even remember where I saw it now. But it was a picture of Adam and Eve. And then there was a big apple in the tree, and there was a snake in the tree. And I think it was Eve. She reached up. She didn't grab the apple. She grabbed a snake, and they walked off with the snake. They were going to go eat the. They were going to go eat the snake. Yeah, listen. Why do you think we don't lift the sanctions on North Korea? Why quite frankly, I think that, I know several people who have been there. And they're like, oh, the people are so nice. They weren't just people that they set me up to see. Listen, I've heard that from several people. And all I got to say is any country that will set it up to where when you have to go on a tour with them because they don't want you to see what's going on in their country has to be questionable. And I've talked about this, but I know a couple people in the boxing business that have been there, and I know a couple other people have been there. But also Chuck has been there. Chuck from the Bum Gun videos has been there, and he wanted me to go. And I actually was thinking about it, and then I just can't do it, man. I can't go there, because I'm like, wait a minute, you're gonna tell me I can't go where I want? I gotta go. I gotta follow you around. Somebody has to follow me around. They have to see what I'm doing all the time. I don't want that shit. I had that in Myanmar when I first started going to Myanmar. I don't know if anybody knows this, but when I first went to Myanmar and first met with Nanda, this is probably 15 years ago, I remember distinctly walking down the street and a guy following me, and when I turned around, he hid behind a piling. And I started walking, and he came after me again. And that happened a couple of times. Finally, what I did was I kind of slowed down and let him catch up to me. And then as soon as he got close to me, I turned around and walked the other way and just walked away from him. So, it was like I was going one, and then I just turned around again. So it was like, he wasn't a handler. He was a spy. He was following me. And this is what they used to do in Myanmar. They may still do it, but not quite as much, And I told Nanda about it, and he's like, yeah, was Chuck at the rooftop party in Phuket that got raided by the cops and were arrested for non-compliance of the corona rules? I don't think he was. Although, knowing him, he'll be like, I got a friend who's, he's in the government, and, he said it was cool to be out. The problem is the poor Hong Kong folks have lived there 90 days in the British rule. Yeah, exactly. And that's what, it's just so... And, like I come back to the one girl, I call her the coffee shop girl. And she was really funny. And I wish I could have put her, I could have put her on video. But one of the first things she told me was, listen, I'm Hong Kong. I'm not from China. I'm not a mainlander. I don't shit on the street. I don't spit everywhere. And I have manners. And I really take offense at being classified as someone who's like them. She hated it. And she's I've talked to her a couple times. I talked to her about a week ago through, online. And, she's still like, she hates him. Well, that's the thing beyond Trinity. Going to North Korea puts the money right into the government's pocket, and I don't want to do that. And, I did that in Myanmar before, but I did do some research, and at the time, I went right after. They used to have these coupons that you had to buy, and I went right after. How long ago was that? I'd like to know. I think it was called FAC or NAC or something like that. What the hell was it called? FECs. This is 15. No, this is, shit, that's only 8 years ago. No, that's something else. Let me see here. What is it now? It's about 10 years ago. Yeah, he just wrote me the other day. He said he's bored stiff. Let me see what he wrote me. He said something like that. He was bored. That's Simon. Oh, Yeah, he he went back to Australia, and then he came back. He came back to Hong Kong just in time, and he was talking about. I can't say it online, but he was talking about how he missed some stuff that went on while we were there, and and he was bored because he's locked down too. So, man, let me see what else we got here. We're getting to the end of the line here. Oh yeah, I gotta say I find it intriguing that the Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe still refuses to declare the virus an emergency, and he's telling people everybody will get 2 cloth masks. That's his solution. Now I'm going to look at the numbers here. Let's see if the new numbers have come out. Yesterday, I think 3 people. Was it 3 people or 2 people? 3 people passed away in Thailand. Let's see here. Over 1 million cases now. It just keeps going up. I see a lot of stuff of people saying, yeah, but nobody's complaining about the flu, and nobody's complaining about this, and oh, it's 5G, and it's all this other stuff that's killing all these people. I don't know, man. Call me stupid, but I don't buy that bullshit. Let's see here. Japan, another 122 new cases. They still have relatively few, but I don't know how much testing they're doing. They got 2,617 people, but they've had 63 deaths. 1 was new. Yeah, Thailand's at 1875 total with 15 deaths, and now I'm looking at the U.S. 245,000. I'm hoping that all the people that have been locked down here or semi-locked down here has done a good thing, and that it starts showing. We start getting some results here. That like the numbers start dropping, and they start telling people they can get back to normal life. What about if we pay your way to North Korea, then you go into Building 39 with a camera and say, what's going on in here? Yeah. You always bring up these trips I won't do. Bring something up that I will do. I mean, right now I'm not going anywhere. I'm not flying anywhere because it's just too much of a hassle. As testing gets easier, cases will go up faster. Well, it's fairly easy in Thailand. I don't know how many tests they have available, but it is easier. They've got that 15-minute test, just like in the United States, to test for the antibodies. So hopefully, But here's the thing. I think maybe they're talking about June, middle of May, June. I guess that's okay. That's not too much longer. But I still think that the economy and businesses, they are just, around the world, they're going to be screwed for the next year. So did you give blood, Gennaro? The other thing people are forgetting about is that plasma, the plasma transfusion. That might be something good. All right. Well, let's see here. Yeah, so the numbers, they come out a little bit later than the stream ends, so yeah, I'm not about to give any blood right now. I'm not that trusting. When it comes to somebody sticking me, I'm not that, I'm just not all that, especially right now. France had a lot of deaths yesterday, and Spain is way up there. Italy, crazy numbers, you know. But, you know, hopefully we'll be able to we'll get to the crux, to the truth of all that is going on at some point. Because right now, I think we're in the midst of it. And when you're in the midst of it, it's very difficult to know exactly what's true, what's not. But I think in time, everything will come about, and you know, we'll learn exactly what transpired. It may take some time, but I do think that we will get to the bottom of this, one way or the other. We'll find out who's lying, even though in my head I kind of think I already do know who's lying. You know, it's kind of like the Don King thing. I've said it before. How do you know they're lying? He opens his mouth. They open their mouth. The CCP. Somebody opens their mouth, you know. Oh, interesting. France dumped 850 nursing home deaths that occurred over a few weeks but got lumped into one day. Very interesting. Well, I take it everybody's locked down right now in their homes, or they're staying at home. Nicholas gave me a bunch of movies that he wanted to see, and I have some of them, and so I'll have to report back once I watch them and let you guys know what's going on. They're making a big deal about the Joe Dirt, Joe Exotic kind of thing. Everything shall unfold, and we shall be enlightened. I don't know. I thought it was pretty good. The Joe Exotic, the Tiger King thing. I thought it was, at first it was funny, and then I was like, holy shit, man. It's not all that funny. But I thought it was worth watching. So, you know, take that for what it's worth. A Boston Celtic player who recovered donated blood serum yesterday, to help develop a vaccine. Ah, that's good. That's good. I think anything that, you know, I think we need all the help we can get. And that goes for here too. I mean, I'm not going to complain about what's going on here. There's a few things, you know, but like you don't really know what's going on and what's their thought process. I don't really have a problem with anything that's going on here. I don't mind them saying, you know, essential stuff, curfew. You know, doesn't bother me at all. No, I haven't watched any of the Chinese videos, you know, by the former Chinese expats in China. I haven't watched any of those. But I will, I'll get to them, you know, but like, believe it or not, I've been pretty busy between keeping the kids busy, keeping myself busy. I think I'm done with my room here. I'm pretty much set up. There's a few things I want to do, but we're not ready yet to, well, it's a little difficult to go out and get some of the things that I need right now, so. I have to go to the grocery store in the a.m. Folks over 60 are allowed from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Yeah, I heard that. And before, I don't know about, you know, where you're at, but I heard it in the United States where my mother was. And my mother was like, what, they think old people want to wake up really early? She's like, you know, got to wake up early and get out there. And usually, you know, a lot of people, they'll wake up early. Like I wake up early, but I don't want to go out at 5 o'clock in the morning or 6 o'clock in the morning if I can help it. I don't want to do that. You know. We know China is lying. The question is, how big was the lie and how far up it went? Well, everything that takes place of any magnitude in China goes all the way to the top. All right, well, this stream has run its course. Wish someone would start streaming an hour earlier. That means I got to wake up an hour earlier. I don't know. I'll think about it. There are some differences when I start streaming at 8 o'clock as opposed to 9 o'clock. But I'm not really, doesn't matter to me, to be honest. I'm not going to stream until Sunday. I may stream, like I said, I may start streaming every day, at least while this stuff's going on. Just so, some people have something to talk to. Some people to talk to. They got something to do. I don't know. I'm already up, but it doesn't mean that I'll have the time to get all my information gathered in my head and on paper. Believe it or not, I do a little planning for these sit-downs. I'm up at 4 in the morning, and I went to sleep about 10, and then I woke up at like 1:30, 2 o'clock. I don't sleep well, especially right now. And believe me, yesterday I took the melatonin. I know the Epoch Times. They are. Well, you're saying, are they? Is it true journalism? I think so, but I don't think they have any problem calling the CCP what it is, which is an authoritarian government ruled by a dictator. I don't think they have any. I know a couple of people with them, and I know one of the guys is an older guy, a very nice guy, and his wife, and he's not allowed to go back to China. That tells you something. Andy, you're about a day behind all of us, but you're a couple of hours. We talked about that right at the beginning of the stream, but that's kind of par for the course. And it's not just that they break the rules. See, I think people should see, this is where some of the facts get left out. What he said was not, anybody who goes out on the lockdown and breaks the rule, we're going to shoot him. No, that's not what he said. What he said was, if they give the police any trouble about it, then shoot them. In other words, if you're out and about and you're an old woman and you're going out to get some food, tell the police you're going out for food. And if they say, listen, we don't believe you, don't mouth off to them because you might get shot. But more than likely, it's the people who go, listen, like in India, they're on motorbikes, and the people are telling them, the cops are telling them, you got to go the other way. You can't come this way. And the guy's trying to get by him. He's, they're, and the one thing, like it or not, the police have the authority. It's not a good time to bridge up against the police. And the Indian police have batons and wooden sticks, and they're whacking the people with them, giving them a beating. So you don't want to go, listen, if the policeman tells me you got to go the other way, I would say, okay, I'm going to go the other way. Now, if I had to go that one direction, I would try to explain for a second. And if he said no, I'd be like, okay, I'm out of here. That's the way it goes. 9 o'clock sounds good. Well, I started at 9 o'clock today, but I guess where you are, maybe it was 10. I don't know. Mr. Longhorns wants me to start at 8 o'clock here. Falun, you're talking about the Falun Gong? Isn't that what it is? No, I don't think it's owned by them. I'm not sure. Hello, John Baxter. We got about, how many minutes? 5 minutes left. That's a 2-hour stream. Long enough. I think, like I said, the stream has run its course. It's time to say goodbye. But listen, Beyond Trinity, I would trust the Epoch Times. To me, their organization is trustworthy. Now, I did get interviewed by them, and they actually, yeah. Uh, and then I couldn't find the interview. I don't know what happened to it. They interviewed me on camera, and but they were always very tried to be very straight and call it as it is. So it was 10 p.m. there. So I started at 9 here. Good food and fine women. I don't know. Is he shacked up? He probably wouldn't tell me if he was. I don't know. I don't think Jono is the kind of guy who wants to go blabbing about his sexual conquests. I mean, he is 65 years old. It's not like like he tells me, I don't want to go and run around in the bars and go chasing girls. He doesn't give a shit, Fine women. Yeah, he's got a photography thing going on now. He's got about a dozen chicks there, and yeah, well, he hates that. Seriously, he said it to me more than once, how he hates how his friends back home are constantly saying that he's going out with chicks and, oh, how many chicks you got? That kind of thing. He hates it. Because, most of the time he's not. He's like, man, I feel like dealing with them women, all right, well, so I'll try to start an hour early on Sunday, okay? Sunday at 8 o'clock. I know you don't. I understand that sometimes that the time cannot be right for everybody. Okay. So, this is the thing. It's good for people in America. It's not good for people in Europe. It's good for people in Europe. It's not good for people in Australia or, wherever. So, they, from what I know about them, they've always been really straight, and they're definitely not pro CCP. But they too try to be somewhat fair. And most of the time, the thing is it's very difficult to be fair when you're talking about the CCP because they're so full of shit. And all you have to do is just think about their track record over the past 70 years. Think about all the things that they've done and how they've treated their people and how they're treating their people even now and how they surveil their people, how they don't allow YouTube, they don't allow this, they don't allow that. Okay, I understand you don't have to do those things. But there's a lot of things that they've done that just are inexcusable. So, what is this? I'd rather have the food. Oh, you'd rather have the food. Well, listen, I told Jono, I said, hey, man, when are you going to ship over, you're going to have to send a messenger over with some pickles. And he's like, I fucked up all the pickles. There's no pickles left. So, anyway, no big deal. I'm sure he's fine. I'll give him a call or probably before Sunday. Maybe, depends on what he's doing. I don't know. Maybe, maybe he is. He's got a couple of fine ladies there, that are shacked up with him. Who knows? That's his business, though. So, anyway, like I said, this stream has run its course. That's what I say here. So stay inside when you can. Only go out for the essentials. Stay safe. Thank you very much for watching. If you like what I'm doing and would like to support the channel, take a look in the description or head over to my website at americaninbangkok.com/Scott. And I am putting up audio versions of this stream now. So if you just want to, like, maybe, you want to listen to it, you can download it. So that's a good thing. If you have yet to subscribe, please do so. Make sure to click the bell to make sure you get notified. Click like, click share, leave a comment. Oh, God. Thanks, Dre. Thanks, Beyond Trinity. Thank you, Mr. Longhorns. Tom, everybody. Soy Dog Cowboy, Carl, all these guys who may be listening right now, especially the New Yorkers. Take care of yourself. Everybody take care. And until next time, Let's see if I can come up with something here. Hang on, hang on. What happened to the music? Let's see. I had, I see how here it is. This is what I mean. I need more time. I don't ever have enough time. Maybe I'll put a little. I'll give you a little Asian music. Let's see here. How about birds in flight? How's that sound? We'll close it out with birds in flight. If I can find it. Yeah, where is it? I'm so confused. All right, here we go. I don't know how if this is a good one or not. Oh yes, very relaxing for us old folks and for some of the younger ones. This isn't bad. I retract that dirty comment. All right. Everybody, like I said, stay safe, all that good stuff. I'm sure we'll get through it. It just might not be when we want. Might not end when we want it to, which kind of sucks, but that's the way it goes.